Morning. Hi, Mr. Graney. How are you?
Great, Olivia. How are you?
I am good. Thank you so much for being flexible and rescheduling. I know the weather this week made it hard for schools.
Understood. Understood.
Hi, Miss Booten. How are you?
We are good. We're good.
Okay, great.
Been a little
And
bit getting connected, but we're good
I'm
now.
sorry, what was that?
I said it's been a little bit difficult getting connected, but we're okay now. We're good.
Okay, good. I was curious, yeah. And I see Beth is on. Hey, Beth. You're muted, honey.
Good morning.
All right. And Miss Booten, are we waiting on any bells to ring or are we
There will be bells that ring to dismiss for lunch. Some of my students will leave, some of them will stay at
okay,
that.
sounds good. And so we'll go ahead and get started then. So give me 1 second to get that pulled up. Right.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So bear with me while I try and share my screen for a second. Right. Actually, I'll just go ahead and do our opening. All right. So welcome everyone. My name is Olivia McCuskey. Joining me today is my colleague Beth Bowden. She's with the Education Alliance, and so am I. The Alliance exists to mobilize business and community support for public schools. And one of the things we're really passionate about is helping all students build career awareness and be ready for future success. And one of the ways we do that is by hosting programs like this West Virginia Ready virtual internship course. Today, I'm very excited to welcome Michael Graney, the Executive Director of the West Virginia Department of Economic Development, and he will be speaking with us today about some of the exciting new businesses that his department has worked to bring to West Virginia over the last few years, what industries are available in West Virginia, and what career opportunities are most available to you all over the next few years as you leave high school and enter the next stages of your lives. So we are going to have Mr. Graney share the presentation, and there will be some places where we're going to pause for Q&A. And this training is meant to be interactive between you and the businesses. So I want to encourage you to jot down any questions that come to mind while Mr. Graney is speaking, because we will pause and you'll have ample time to ask him those questions throughout the training. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Mr. Graney, and I will share my screen with his presentation momentarily.
Well, Olivia, thank you very much for the introduction and students and teachers. I'm pleased to be here today and excited to present this slide deck to talk about what the Department of Economic Development does, what great opportunities we have in West Virginia for your careers, and what opportunities there are for your next education desire. So Olivia, if you could open up the first slide, that'd be great. So the West Virginia Department of Economic Development has many components. So Community Advancement and Development, the Office of Energy, the West Virginia Film Office, the Small Business Development or Small Business Coaching Center, the Office of Broadband, Business and Industrial Development, and our international effort. Next slide, please. So we've been very attractive for industry to invest in over the past several years, really because we have a great business environment. There are more than $20 billion has been invested in West Virginia since 2017. We have the lowest turnover rate in manufacturing in the country, which means that West Virginians are loyal to their employers. If that employer treats them well, pays them a fair wage, offers benefits and the opportunity to advancement, they'll stay with them. And that's a very unique feature that West Virginians offer businesses. We have the second lowest workers' comp rate in the country. We have the 5th best business survival rate. And this was a new statistic that just came out. And that's in the country. So businesses start here, they typically survive. And that's a great thing. Next slide. We have more than $1 billion in our rainy day fund. We have a budget of about $5 billion. And so 20% is in a rainy day fund. And that gives businesses the understanding that we have a very stable fiscal environment. We have a great economy, and they're likely not to have to face increased taxes in the future. We've been rated as having the 10th best business climate in the country. We're a right to work state. We have the 22nd lowest tax rate in the country, and that's again a great thing. So we are very pro-business. Next slide. We have definitely had an improved business and tax climate over the past several years. So next slide. So West Virginia is very uniquely located. We're within 50% of the U.S. population and 30% of Canada's population within 500 miles or one driving day. We obviously have great transportation with interstate highways, river, and rail. Next slide. So you all are aware of our 4-year institutions. If you choose to graduate from high school and then go on to a 4-year education, there are great options in West Virginia. Next slide. If you choose not to go for a 4-year education, we have Community and Technical College Network. And frankly, a lot of folks can enter a 2-year degree, 2-year certification program, and come out making great wages. And I will tell you that this is a great option. And, I sort of view learning as a lifelong endeavor. And if you choose not to go to a 4-year university, you can go to the community and technical colleges for free, have no debt, leave with a 2-year certification or even a 1-year certification, and have a great wage. And if you choose to go back at a later date to get an additional degree at a 4-year university, you certainly have the option to do that. So this is a great program. We're one of the only states in the country. We're one of 7 states in the country that offers free community and technical college education. Next slide. So I want to tell you about a resource that the West Virginia Department of Economic Development has launched. We're the only state in the country that does this, and we have a resource called JobCase. JobCase advertises all the jobs that are available. We have over 1,200 companies advertising over 40,000 jobs. And I would encourage you to go on JobCase right away and take a look at what those opportunities look like. And Olivia, this might be a good time for questions.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Ms. Booten, I apologize, I muted y'all so there wasn't any background noise, but students at this time, this is a great opportunity. If you have any questions for Mr. Graney, what his office does, or any of the things he just shared, I encourage y'all to unmute and ask your questions. So Ms. Booten, I apologize. I did mute y'all, so you'll have to unmute yourself if you're talking.
Okay, Olivia, we're having a little bit of issues with sound, but we have an IT guy that's on his way down to help us out. So
Okay, so you can't
Oh.
really hear anything?
no, we can't really hear anything right now. They were able to see all the slides and everything, but the sound is not good.
Okay, okay.
I think I think actually, what'd you say? What's the right to work? Yes. Okay. One of my students does want to know, what does the right to work mean?
Oh, great question.
Great question, absolutely. So West Virginia is one of many states that has a right to work law. And it just means that, you know, you can work in a company that is not unionized, and you can work in a company that is unionized, but we have that right to work, and it's actually just a feature that makes West Virginia attractive to employers who don't necessarily favor you working with unions. As an example, Nucor Steel that has just started construction of their the largest sheet steel manufacturing facility that they've ever invested in, and actually the largest investment in the state of West Virginia's history. They are a non-union shop, so to speak. And the reason they're non-union is because they really treat their employees very, very, very well. And actually, an average salary for an employee at Nucor Steel in 2023 was over $140,000. So that's a fantastic job. And frankly, you don't necessarily have to have a 4-year degree, and often you don't even need a 2-year certification. They will teach you the job. So I'd encourage you to get on the job case, platform that I referenced earlier and take a look at jobs that might be available, not only at Nucor, but all over West Virginia, and with a number of different businesses, and everything from, working in a convenience store to, being a PhD research professor at Marshall University.
And Mr. Graney brings up an excellent point too with companies like Nucor, and I know Toyota, which is right down the road from them, another manufacturing plant. A lot of these larger corporations, if you decide to come out of high school or, don't have any post-secondary degree and you do start working for them, a lot of them do offer tuition reimbursement after you work for them for a certain period of time. So, you can continue with your full-time employment and get your whatever type of degree you want on the side, with your company either paying your full tuition or paying a significant chunk of it. So that severely reduces the amount of student debt you would have potentially for getting that post-secondary degree.
Going off.
Yeah, great opportunities. I know a lot of hospitals do that as well. I know CAMC now, Vandalia Health, WV Medicine, Marshall Health, I think does that as well. So those are great opportunities.
One other thing that we offer in West Virginia through the Community and Technical College program is called Learn and Earn. And so the Learn and Earn program, we're the only state in the country that offers this. Actually, if you are employing someone and allow them to pursue their 1-year or 2-year certification through the community and technical colleges.
Put in a work order for this permitting board, and they said they couldn't.
Community and technical college will reimburse that employer 50% of the wage. That's a big attraction to a number of different companies. So.
Absolutely, yeah. Great point. And Ms. Booten, I apologize. I did mute y'all again just while he was finishing with his answer. So if we're happy to take another question or two if there are any. That was a awesome question. You'll have to unmute again. I'm sorry.
Okay, we've got our sound issue taken care of now, we think. So
Great.
We're good.
Okay, awesome. All right.
Let's go back to the slide deck if there are no other questions.
Sounds great. Give me one moment.
Great. So we've talked about job case. I again encourage you all to take a look at it right now and take a look at it frequently. So next generation businesses that have said yes to West Virginia. This is a great slide because we've had a number of great wins over the past few years, and you can see from a number of different perspectives, industry sectors and subsectors. Procter & Gamble in the Eastern Panhandle made their largest investment in corporate history in Martinsburg, West Virginia. And so if you are familiar with Swiffer or use Bounce sheets or you use, Palmolive dishwashing soap, or if you, use Head and Shoulders or Old Spice, all of that product is manufactured right in Martinsburg, West Virginia, and distributed all over the country. Form Energy, a new interesting battery storage facility is being built in Weirton, West Virginia. Nucor Steel, as I mentioned before, in Apple Grove, West Virginia, Mason County. And of course, we've had great investments in Wayne County. So Jeffy is there in Pritchard and has made a big investment here. And just a couple of weeks ago, we had LG, Life is Good, a Korean company, announce a big investment in the state of West Virginia. And frankly, they could have gone anywhere, but they chose West Virginia. And that's a big win for us. So a whole bunch of different opportunities and a bunch of different, businesses, manufacturing, software research, software development, you name it. There are great opportunities in West Virginia. So next slide. And international companies that have invested in West Virginia. Since about 1990, we've had over 147 companies from 34 different countries invest over $3 billion in West Virginia, with over 30,000 jobs. Next slide. So in Japanese investment only, particularly in the automotive and aerospace industries, have invested over $3 billion, creating over 5,000 jobs. And Okino International is there, located in Wayne County as well. Next slide. So I have a series of industry maps here that we can just go through fairly quickly, but what we want to demonstrate is there are a whole bunch of different possibilities in industry sectors all over the state that have needs for great, hard workers who are, willing to work here. So in the aerospace industry, we have a lot of investment. Next slide. The agricultural industry, located all over the state. Next slide. In the automotive industry, we talked about Toyota a little bit, but we have a number of other, companies that are definitely involved in the automotive industry. So Jeffy and Okino included. Hino Trucks were the only, class 6 and 7 assembly facility in the country for Hino. And, the list goes on. Next slide. The building products industry been very important in West Virginia for many years to come, from our base of having a large timber industry, a lot of activity here. Next slide. The chemical and polymer industry, the long history of, manufacturing chemicals and polymers all over the state. Next slide. The defense industry. There's a whole lot of activity in this area. Some that actually manufactures, materials for the defense industry. Some of it is actually software development and biometrics. We're really, West Virginia is really sort of the biometrics capital of North America, really based on the investment that was made by the FBI in Fairmont 30 years ago. So that has led us to have a quite an active defense industry sector in West Virginia. Next slide. The energy industry. So, West Virginia has been known for, producing energy since frankly before it was actually a state. And so we will continue to be a very important energy manufacturing facility in the country. Heretofore it's been with coal and natural gas and biofuels, biomass, but we'll be diversifying into hydrogen and additional hydro, probably more solar, some more wind energy manufacturing, and the list goes on. So there will be many opportunities to be employed in the energy industry. Next slide. The forest products industry, over 70% of West Virginia is forested. So we have lots of trees, and we, as a result, have a very large forest products industry, again, located all over the state. Next slide. The distribution and fulfillment industry, there's been a great deal of activity in the Eastern Panhandle, really because of its access to Interstate 81 and the population to the north and to the south. But we have a number of distribution facilities in other areas as well. Next slide. Information technology industry. So I mentioned the defense industry. The information technology industry is growing and growing, dramatically in West Virginia. So if you have an interest in being a software developer, you have an interest in DevOps, if you have, programming interest at all, there are wonderful opportunities for you all over the state. Next slide. The metals industry, very big presence for West Virginia. We have had a long history of doing metal work, and a whole lot of it, frankly, in the southern part of the state, or think Wayne County, Cabell County, Mason County, Kanawha County, but the rest of the state as well. Next slide. So maybe this is a good place for us to stop and take some additional questions.
Any
I think
questions?
so.
Okay.
Ms. Bowden, your class have any questions about any of the slides that were just shared or anything in general?
Yeah, we do have a question. You have to come up.
What industry is the largest?
So it's a great question. Probably from a dollar volume, probably the chemical and polymers industry is the largest industry in the state. But in general, the energy industry is the largest. And that because it also is using the inputs from coal, natural gas, and biomass or wood. And so those are probably the two largest sectors in the state.
Any other questions? We good? Okay, I think we're good.
Mr. Graney, I have a question if you don't mind. Do you have any information on what the largest sector for job openings or projected job openings will be in the state in the next couple of years?
It's a great question, Olivia, and I'm not sure I necessarily have an answer for that. I will tell you that not unlike any other place in the country and or really any other place in the world, there's a workforce shortage. And so we have companies every day indicating that they definitely need additional workers. They definitely need additional employees. And I've said to many of our employers, in fact, most of whom I meet with on a regular basis, that if they want a future workforce, they really need to develop an apprenticeship program or an internship program so that they can give, students like we're speaking with today, the opportunity to take a look at that industry, to work in it, to try to understand it. And then, and if they are successful in completing that study period, then they're probably going to be employed and they're probably going to have a great job opportunity. There are a couple of companies that are doing that right now and doing it very well. Constellium, which is an aluminum forming company that operates just south of Ravenswood, West Virginia, in Jackson County, has a fantastic apprenticeship program that they work with Ripley High School and with Ravenswood High School. I think they typically have a cohort of approximately 20 students who they work with sort of starting in the middle of their junior year, and they work through an 18-month period, and typically they hire every one of those folks, and with a great job, with great benefits. So
That's a great point about the apprenticeships and the internships. Is there a place where students can go, research any of the apprenticeships available in their area or in different industries?
I do not believe there is such a resource. The Department of Education might very well have some information about that. Olivia, we'll need to inquire about that because I'm not sure we have a great sort of parking lot there. But I mean, take a look at the job case reference, take a look at the employers that are listed there, see the number of jobs that are offered, and then do the research on the company. And it's entirely possible that that company will be advertising the fact that they have an internship program or an apprenticeship program. Toyota, of course, has the 4F program that they've been, working with a number of high school students for, quite some time now. And that platform is actually being rolled out across the state for a number of companies to take advantage of. You've obviously referenced the hospitals who are doing a number of, opportunities with paying for, tuition reimbursement, that sort of thing. There is also a training program, an apprenticeship training program that's happening with K through 12 to encourage students to become teachers. And actually our office and the Governor's Guaranteed Workforce Training Program is working in conjunction with, K-12 Department of Education to encourage, students to, take a quick pathway towards education. And in fact, some of the credits that they generate in high school will be applicable and count towards a fast track for a teacher's certificate in their education process, in their graduate education process, or post-secondary school education process. You get that right.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, Ms. Booten, any other questions, or else we'll continue moving forward?
Yes, we have a question.
Awesome. Okay, great.
Give her just a second.
Do you plan on incorporating more businesses into West Virginia, and how exactly do you plan on incorporating them?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that again, please?
Real fast.
Do you plan on
Ronnie Staley and Fisher Fry come to the office to check out.
Do you plan on incorporating more businesses into West Virginia, and if so, how?
Well, we want to attract as many businesses to West Virginia as we possibly can. And that's really one of the missions of the Department of Economic Development. Our first mission is to retain the businesses that we have. Our second mission is to help them expand and grow. And our third mission is to attract new businesses into West Virginia. And so, I was asked by the governor to take on this job 5 years ago. And he said, Mike, you've been a business guy for all these years. Why don't you go out and help us intentionally diversify our economy? And so I think we've been effective at doing that by bringing new metals companies into the state, by bringing additional software development into the state, by bringing in all kinds of manufacturing opportunities. And so, yes, we definitely want to incorporate new businesses. And to answer your question about how do we do that? Well, a number of the slides we opened up with that sort of demonstrates why we're an attractive place to do business. We have a great business environment. We didn't 15 years ago, but we have resolved that through the legislature and some policy changes. We have a great fiscal, stability, and And so, and one other, kind of interesting thing that works in our favor is that we're a small state, but that makes us very nimble. So we can respond very quickly. The governor can assemble his cabinet very quickly to meet with companies to talk about, any issues they may need to resolve. The legislature, if legislation needs to be passed to encourage that company to come here, they'll put it together and do it. So we move very quickly and we're very responsive. And so that's really how we're able to attract new businesses to West Virginia. And one other thing, if you have any interest in, being an entrepreneur and working for yourself, and, technically 98% of the businesses in West Virginia are considered small business. And that's because the definition of a small business by the Small Business Administration is less than 500 employees. So 98% of the businesses in West Virginia are small business. And I was a small business for many years. In my previous career. And so we actually had more than 500 employees, but we're still a small business. Nonetheless, I hope that answers the question. And it's a great one. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent question. Thank you all so much. And I'll add too, I know Mr. Graney mentioned he was a small business. West Virginia does a really good job of helping small businesses get started. I actually had a friend, she just opened her own therapy, business. And, she always mentioned how helpful the state of West Virginia was at providing her guidance and support. So if that's something you're interested in being an entrepreneur, there are a lot of resources available to help you get started and figure out what to do.
It's a great point, Olivia. And again, in our shop, so to speak, the small business development centers have business coaches located throughout the state, and they help small entrepreneurs get started all the time. And that consulting service is free. So those resources are large and deep. And if you have an interest in that, I would encourage you to log on to our website. And there's actually a separate website for it's SBDC. And then our website is, and you can get the same information there as well, as westvirginia.gov. So it's West Virginia all spelled out .gov. And I would encourage you all to, take a look. There are a bunch of resources there, and all those maps are located there, but there's a lot of other information. So do some research, have fun with it.
Right, great. Well, we'll continue on then, but again, we will have another period for questions, and students, I really appreciate all the questions you're asking. These are great.
Absolutely. So here's another way that we can answer that last question. The West Virginia Department of Economic Development is sort of like a concierge service. We offer help with building and site searches and visits to our state. We offer help with demographics and research, labor shed studies, so forth and so on. We can work as a single point of contact. We facilitate discussions with all of our government partners, utility and service providers, and we just help you navigate through the state. So if you need to meet with Tax and Revenue, or you need to meet with the Department of Highways, or you need to meet with the Department of Environmental Protection, we're the conduit to make all of that happen. Under workforce training, we help with candidate search, recruitment, and screening. We help with job training. We have funding for recruitment and training. We can help develop apprenticeships. We work very closely with the community and technical colleges and university curriculum development. We have close relationships with all of the community and technical colleges, as well as all of the four-year universities. We can help with financial assistance. We can offer low-cost loans. We have a number of tax incentives and statutory tax credits that are available, and we often help with infrastructure improvements, water, sewer, roads, broadband, wastewater, you name it. We can help with export assistance. We can do market research. We do trade missions and trade shows. We have two folks who are very involved in helping small businesses in West Virginia export to other countries. We have the Governor's Export Awards program that occurs every year, and it's surprising how many small companies in West Virginia export to many other countries. And then we can help with just, services, housing and schools and medical, advice, and with visa applications, and then, helping people understand what great recreational opportunities are here in the state. So those are the services we offer, and those are the things that we will, help provide to those companies who are looking to locate here and are new to our state. I think we can go to the next slide. So this is a little bit about, those companies and those industry sectors that we're interested in attracting. And under the technology structure, we're definitely interested in improving our broadband service and connectivity, technology and software, business services and business processes, advanced health and biometrics, and then, government agencies and government contracting, and those businesses that will support those sectors. Next slide. In manufacturing, these are the typical industry sectors that we're actually trying to attract or help expand here. Petrochemical and polymers, the automotive space, the aerospace, heavy equipment manufacturing, defense and advanced materials, consumer goods manufacturing, and food and beverage manufacturing, and of course, building materials manufacturing, all of which we have now. And recently we've had a number of announcements about expansions of existing businesses, which are just as exciting, frankly, as the new business attraction. As I said earlier, our first job is to retain the businesses we have. The second job is to help them expand. And then the third job is to help attract new businesses. So we've announced a number of advanced material expansions, food and beverage manufacturing expansions, automotive expansions, and petrochemical and polymer expansions here in just the last few weeks. Next slide. Of course, here are other additional priorities that are important to us. The tourism industry continues to grow heavily in the state, and we're very excited about that. I would actually like to attract more outdoor adventure gear manufacturers. We have, as I mentioned earlier, a whole lot of activity in the energy sector, both with solar and alternative energy sources. We've attracted a great number of remote workforce folks since the beginning of COVID, fulfillment, distribution, workforce, entrepreneurship, and then international projects and foreign direct investment ends up being a very important priority for us as well. So we're active in all these areas, and we have a small team, but we have a very dedicated and passionate team who do great work for the state. So Olivia, I'm not sure I have any more slides, but I do have maybe one last slide. Again, I would encourage you to look at our website, westvirginia.allspelledout.gov, and have some fun doing that. And I'm happy to answer additional questions.
Yeah, you gotta come up. Okay. We've got a question.
Great.
Do you think like as we gain more businesses, like others will fall short, or do you think they'll like stay the same as they are now?
So it falls short in terms of their employment.
Is that what you mean? Fall short as far as like the number of employees that they have, or fall short? Or you fall short, will they not be able to stay in business?
yeah.
Okay, she's talking about fall short as far as will they be able to stay in business? Will other companies take their place? Will they still be able to compete if we bring in new businesses?
So it's a great question. And I think that, the marketplace sort of determines that. And I think, businesses understand to survive, they probably got to change and adopt and be competitive. And so if a company does not adopt to the market conditions and does not remain competitive, then it's probably likely to fail. But I was in the petroleum distribution and convenience store business, and literally we had to change almost every day and to remain competitive. So that was, something we sort of enjoyed doing because it was an important part of our, survivability, so to speak. So I think that probably most important is for us to continue to, try to grow our population. We have a challenge with our population. Unfortunately, probably more people are dying than are being born. And so we've had this natural sort of decline in population. The good news is for the last 3 years, we've had net in-migration into the state. We've had over 4,000 or 5,000 people move into the state every year for the past 3 years. So that's good news. The people understanding West Virginia is a wonderful place to live, work, and play. They love our outdoor activities. They love the fact that we have 4 seasons, and that, frankly, we're located, very well. We don't have a lot of large cities, but we're close to a whole bunch of large cities with a 3 or 4 hour drive. So, so it's a good question. I think the marketplace will determine how a company has to adapt to survive.
What's the fastest growing industry?
Yeah, great question. I would probably suggest to you that it's the software development, industry, only because, there's so much activity, that's happening. We're taking advantage of software right this minute. So that industry in and of itself is growing dramatically. And, artificial intelligence is going to, really be a kind of a very important player in the next, in the years to come. Data center development will be, very, very important. All of the large data centers are, think Microsoft, Amazon, AWS, Facebook, the list goes on, Meta. They're all looking at developing data centers in the state of West Virginia right now. And it's because of the demand for you all using these little things and us taking advantage of our whole life, that these things are kind of addictive. But I can only, can't imagine how we lived without them, 15 years ago, but we did. And there'll be something else that happens in the future. So yeah, I definitely think information technology and that sector will be the fastest growing sector.
Okay, we got another question.
Great.
What recent project has been like the most beneficial in West Virginia?
So great question. I think that probably the Nucor announcement is probably one of the largest beneficial announcements we've had. That property where they located was owned by American Electric Power and had been sort of on the market since 1968, and no one had taken advantage of it. The Nucor needed a very large, place to build a big sheet steel mill. And what will happen with that mill is that they'll employ, over 800 employees direct, but there's an effect. It's called the, indirect and induced, multiplier. So it's probably a 5 times multiple for that particular project. So think, 5,000 jobs will be created because of that. And those jobs will be in the housing sector. They'll be in the restaurant sector. They'll be in the hotel sector, dry cleaning, fast food, you name it, all those services that are required to support 800 new employees. The other thing that will happen is that there will be a supply chain that locates nearby. So a lot of the intakes that, Nucor will use to manufacture their steel, and a lot of the offtakes, so their buyers, will locate nearby as well. So it's not just about the one, $4 billion investment in 800 jobs in a big sheet steel manufacturing facility. It's about all the other supply chain, both on input and outtake. So that will be very, very impactful in Mason County, West Virginia. And frankly, it will affect Wayne County and Cabell County and Putnam County and Logan County and Raleigh County and Jackson County and Wood County. And so there'll be a large area that impacts. And so, you know, people will need to build houses, and people will need to build apartments, and people need to build hotels and restaurants. And so that's probably the single largest, you know, impact we've had. And it is the largest investment in the history of the state of West Virginia. And it is the largest investment that Nucor Steel, which is a top 100 company, Fortune, you know, 100 company in the country. And it's the other thing that's pretty neat about it is they are a recycler. They're the largest recycler in North America. So they take steel and melt it down and reuse it. And so that's a really cool thing because it's keeping that metal out of landfills and it's repurposing that metal for years to come. So I could go on and give you a couple of other examples, but you asked for the single most impactful. That's it.
We got another question?
Great.
With the tech industry growing, how are job salaries expected to be affected by it with how it's growing at a rapid pace?
So great question. I think because it's growing at a rapid pace, companies understand that they've got to be very, very competitive in their job compensation to be attractive. And so, you know, as an example, Marshall University has just, you know, received a large investment from the state of West Virginia to develop a cyber center there and cyber training facility at Marshall. And, you know, this is going to be very, very, very important. There are billions of cyber attacks that happen every minute, you know, across the world. And so to protect, you know, our information, to protect ourselves, our personal identity, getting that cyber training will be very, very, very important. And frankly, with that training, you become very marketable, not only to the cyber industry, but to Nucor, who's going to need protection from, you know, ransomware attacks and so forth and so on. So I think the point is that in the tech sector, I think, you know, salaries will be very attractive because there'll be demand for talented employees.
What businesses or industries have the lowest employment rate?
Boy, the lowest unemployment rate? Is that the question?
Yeah. Yes.
It's a great question, and I'm not sure I necessarily know the answer to it. Right this minute, I would say that curiously, the coal industry probably has the lowest unemployment rate because they can't mine the coal fast enough, and they can't find enough employees to fill those roles. So that might actually be the case. I would also tell you that there are, you know, a number of employers who are great employers. So they rarely have turnover except when they have someone who's retiring. So, you know, Toyota is a great example. They have a very, very low unemployment rate, and they have a long list of candidates that have applied and that they can, you know, count on. So as a single company, Toyota might have the lowest unemployment rate in the state.
Thank you.
Sure.
What's the fastest decreasing industry?
Fastest decreasing industry?
Yes.
Boy, I'm not sure I have a great answer for that one.
These are some hard-hitting questions.
These are great questions, and
Yeah.
you're stumping me on a couple of them. fastest decreasing industry. So think of, something like, you may have heard this example, the buggy whip. So, there were, before, Henry Ford invented the Model T Ford, you had to ride around in horse carriages, essentially. And so you manufactured a buggy whip to whip the horses to get them to go faster or to get them to go in the right direction. So that manufacturer of those buggy whips did not understand what was happening when the Model T Ford was invented. And they became very quickly, the fastest declining manufacturer. And so I'm not sure I have a great answer for, what's happening currently, but, there are employers out there that are, and there are students like you all who are getting trained up for businesses that we don't even know exist yet. We haven't even, dreamt of them yet, but they will be created at some time in the future. And if you have, great fundamental skills that, and you're trainable, then you're going to have a great career ahead of you. And it may be that, you think you want to be in software development, but maybe you want to be in artificial intelligence. And what happens with that as it develops. So pretty weak answer, but I'm going to think about these great questions because they're hard ones, and I'm very impressed by you all.
And I think Mr. Graney brings up an excellent point. I mean, it's good to have transferable skills or, just show employers that, you're willing to learn new skills, you're a fast learner, and, just the main thing is showing that you're willing and eager to learn and be trainable. And that applies to any industry, any career, any employer. I mean, those are the main things I think they're looking for now is, are you eager and willing to learn?
That's exactly
With that,
right.
for you.
So, would you suggest going into like the medical industry?
Yeah, so I think the medical industry is fascinating because they're incredible, and advances are being made in the medical industry. And we all, unfortunately, I'm getting older and my body's falling apart, and I need medical care. So I think that it's an industry that will be around forever as long as humans are on the planet. So it's a safe place, so to speak, but it is advancing rapidly. And so, as Olivia said, having the fundamental, base skills that then are transferable and you can adapt and learn new things as advances happen, then really neat things are occurring. And I don't know if you all saw the 60 Minutes show on Sunday night a couple of Sundays ago. It was about a doctor named Ali Rezai, who is in charge of the Rockefeller Neurological Institute at West Virginia University in Morgantown. And he's made some advancements with his research that are truly phenomenal. In fact, in making advances at curing Parkinson's, at potentially reducing the rate of growth with Alzheimer's. And actually, he's currently working on a program to help reprogram the brain to help with, substance abuse and drug addiction. And so it's really neat stuff. And he can essentially, put a helmet on your head and go through what's referred to as the blood-brain barrier with a laser, and without having to open up your brain or cut a hole in your skull, and target those molecules and proteins in your brain that are damaging and actually are the reasons that Parkinson's occurs. And he has had great success with being able to reverse Parkinson's. In fact, unbelievable video of a guy, shaking his hand so hard that he couldn't hold a cup of coffee or couldn't write his name. And after that 15-minute procedure, his hands were dead calm. So if you haven't seen that, you might want to take a look at it because it's pretty interesting, and it would answer your question about whether you want to be in medicine or not.
Got another question?
Do you know some internships available for high school students under these industries?
I mean, I think there are a number of different industries that are offering, high school internships. In particular, and Olivia, you may want to follow up with this to offer them some information about the 4F program with Toyota, and then I mean a number of other companies have sort of adapted that concept, and so yes, there are a number of folks who are interested in offering up internships.
And I'll kind of add on to that as well. So the Education Alliance also does a paid summer internship program for high school students with multiple businesses around the state. And so the 4T program he's mentioning with Toyota, that's actually during the school year, but they also offer summer internships. It's through the Education Alliance, but you're working for Toyota. We've done it with Appalachian Power, AEP. We've done it with West Virginia American Water. Last year we did it with Solar Holler right there in Wayne County and Cabell County. We've done it with Cabell Huntington Hospital before. Mon Health, which is up in the northern part of the state. So, if you're interested, and I know Ms. Booten, I'll send y'all this information too. We're hoping the applications for that will release March 1st. And we're continuing to finalize the businesses that will participate with us. But for our summer internships, it's during the month of July, so it'll run July 1st through July 26th this year, I think. We do pay $16 an hour, and companies offer fully in person or some hybrid options. So if that's something you're interested in, please, I encourage y'all to look at our website and apply for those. There is an application process, but that's a great way, like Mr. Graney was saying earlier about the apprenticeships and the internships, to actually go to a company, see what the industry is like, work there for a month and see if you actually enjoy it. You mentioned healthcare a moment ago. For some of our healthcare internships, they rotate through different departments. So you can see, if you'll like actually working hands-on with the patient, or if you would prefer to be more behind the scenes, working with the tools and the equipment, and you're not necessarily as hands-on with the patient. So, again, I encourage y'all to look at our website. I'll send Ms. Booten the information, but we do offer great summer internships for high school students, and they are paid, which is kind of rare for internships at that age.
Olivia, thank you very much for correcting me. The 4T program, not the 4F program. Appreciate that. One other announcement that you may have an interest in, that you could potentially do a number of different internships throughout the summer. The governor actually just announced the first tourism academy for summer internships, and it's a 2-week-long program. So you could very possibly participate in that program, and also the 4T program, or the Educational Alliance program. So encourage you to get out there and jump into it, because that's how you'll figure out whether you like something or not.
Absolutely.
I think that's all of our questions.
Okay, that's perfect timing. I was just about to say, I know we're coming up to the last couple of minutes. So Mr. Graney, I'll kind of see if you have any closing words for us.
Well, I appreciate that, Olivia, and I've been very impressed by your questions, and I really appreciate it. I appreciate you being thoughtful and stumping me a few times. I'm going to go back and do some research. And as I said, I would encourage you to take a look at JobCase. I would encourage you to do some research into all the industries. Here's the point. There are great jobs that are available for you here in West Virginia. And you may choose to stay in Wayne County. You may choose to, commute to Kanawha County. You may choose to move to the Eastern Panhandle. But stay in West Virginia. It's home. And I know I left for about 15 years. But I came back here. It was a wonderful place for my wife and I to raise 3 children. And I just can't imagine life anywhere else. So I've been lucky to travel, across the country and the world. And I always am happy to come back to West Virginia. So thank you all. Good luck with your careers and with the rest of your high school education. And been very impressed. Have a great weekend as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Graney. All right,
Absolutely.
Ms. Booten, thank you so much. And students, I encourage you, if you have any further questions, please feel free to do some research or reach out to Mr. Graney's office, the West Virginia Department of Economic Development. If they can't answer it or, that's not their department, they'll at least point you in the right direction and they'll be happy to talk to you. Again, I just want to reemphasize, we are super impressed with your questions today and your attention. Thank you all so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks,
Thank you.
folks.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Olivia. Hope that hit it right down the middle.
Mr. Graney, that was perfect. Thank you so much. We truly appreciate your time and for being so flexible. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, look,
Thanks.
this is my future workforce here,
That's very true. Yes.
I'm heavily
Yes.
invested in this. Heavily
And I love what you said at home. This is home and it's a great place to stay, and we just have to look for the opportunities. So I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, have a great weekend and thanks.
You
And
too, sir.
You want me
Thank
to,
you so much.
you want me to circle back on something? Just let me know.
Okay, we'll do. We'll be in touch. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.